just send them over here. Thanks. Appreciate that. Yeah, it's just talking about. No, you can put them right there. Yeah, just talking. Good evening. I'm just so thankful I can be up here. I haven't been up here in a long time. I apologize for that. Got a lot going on in my mind and with my health issues with my wife, and I appreciate everybody praying for her. I just pray that you continue to pray for her. The Lord's really laid this on my heart. We take so many things for granted. You know, we take the Word of God for granted. We take God for granted. You know, we get out of bed every morning, and some people can't get out of bed. You know, you look at the people in Ukraine, the issues that they're going through. We don't have to do that here. So tonight, I want to give you a little bit of insight, my thoughts on what we should do if worst case scenario, no power, no water, no gas, no sewers. It's not that I'm a know-it-all. I've been doing this for a while, and my experience that's helped me the most to learn this stuff has been deer hunting, believe it or not. When you're in the middle of nowhere, you don't have the toilets, you don't have the water, you don't have electricity. And I'm going to go just a quick little story about how I almost froze to death one night. There's things that you have to do and you learn from your bad experiences. And I've learned a lot from a lot of bad experiences. So I'm going to try to pass that on tonight. If I can get the two boys to help me with this. I have some information from FEMA. What the government says, and you know, if you believe what our government says, we should have in case of an emergency. I have their sheet, and I have the Red Cross's sheet. Now, the difference between the two basically is the amount of water that you should have. Now, Red Cross has been around a lot longer than FEMA, and they've dealt with earthquakes, like in Haiti, when people are doing without power for months on end, you know, different things. So the biggest thing is the water issue, the difference. FEMA says we should have a 3-day supply of water, and Red Cross says you should have a 2-week supply of water. So that's kind of basically the difference. The same thing, blankets, flashlight, blah, 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 blah. We'll go over some of that stuff tonight. But I just wanted you to see there's certain things that we should have, and most of us don't have. And I went through this before. It was pretty exhaustive. And I went through guns and all kinds of stuff, nuclear stuff. But tonight, I want to focus on no power outage, okay? And I'll get into that. If you guys can give, where's Ben at? Back there. Give that to Ben. One's the FEMA, one's the Red Cross. And like I said, they can help that out there. And then I'll kind of get started here. So I was talking to Pastor Guenther in the office there, and a lot of you newer people, I mean, you might have been here last time I did this. It was about an hour and a half. Like I said, it was pretty exhaustive. But, you know, a lot of you new people don't know my testimony. And when Pastor was asking this morning about, you know, how long you've been saved, you know, I got to do the math. And, you know, being raised Catholic, Kathy and Joey and I and whoever's been raised Catholic here, you know, you don't know these kind of things. You go and if you get saved, I mean, you can be a Catholic, Muslim, I don't care what you are, you can get saved. Now, what you do after you get saved makes a difference. And I was talking to the pastor about that a little while ago. But so I got saved in a Pentecostal church, being a Catholic, in 1974. Now, I used to listen to Adrian Rogers all the time, one of my favorite preachers. And he was going on, you know, people get saved. They don't know you're supposed to remember the date, the time, and the hour. Some people can, and that's great. But I didn't know you're supposed to remember that stuff. So then I had to kind of look back when people say, well, how long have you been saved? And I got to do the math and all this kind of stuff. So it's really, I got saved in a Pentecostal church. I could not tell you what Pastor Bogle was preaching on. I just know that I was a sinner, and I was going to hell. And I could feel the flames licking my feet, and I did not want to go. I asked Christ to save me. Then after that, I got baptized. I had to move to Ypsilanti. We moved to Ypsilanti. I was managing a store out there. I went to North Sharon Baptist Church, so Catholic, Pentecostal, Baptist Church. I went there for about a year, got baptized there, And I was talking to Pastor this before, and I'm just talking from experience. We've seen it here many times. People once they get baptized, it's like the devil's got a target on your back. I've seen it so many times. We all have seen it here. People get baptized. We never see them again. I got baptized. I was going to that church for about a year. I had to move back down here for a different job. And Kathy Joey both can probably tell you it was like a downhill spiral for me. Alcoholic, drunk, just a bad person. But if you don't have Christian fellowship to keep you accountable and on the right track, you're going to slip. I don't care how good you are. We all slip every day. But if you have that accountability with Christians, you might come in here and, well, I took a drink, or I did this, or I did that. When you're among Christians, it's going to bother you. The pastor's preaching is going to bother you. So it's really important to have accountability. So that's kind of my testimony. The information I'm going to give you tonight is just like this Bible. This Bible is full of information. How to raise your kids, how to treat your spouse, how to get saved, the most important thing. And if you don't take advantage of the information or use that information, you're going to go to hell. It's just plain and simple. It's the information's here. It's what you do with the information. So that's kind of tonight what I want to do. I want to give you some information for you and your family to make it through a power outage. Now, my biggest concern through this whole thing is, and we'll get into a little bit later, is everybody know what an EMP is? EMP pulse? Most people know, most people don't. But anyways, EMP happens all the time. Solar activity, and boom, you get an EMP burst, and power lines go down, internet goes down, communication goes down, and that is not something you can plan on. You know, we get bad weather, we get ready to, I keep my generator, make sure it's going, I got extra gas, Kathy's got extra gas. We do what we have to do to prepare, get your flashlights around, if you know there's going to be a power outage. But with an EMP, you do not know. There's two things that can cause an EMP. One, solar activity, and I have Newsbreak on my phone, and every other day, if not every day, there's some EMP burst going somewhere that's disrupting communications, internet, and you think sometimes your internet's messed up. Well, it's really not your provider, but they don't tell you that. That's the problem. People do not realize how bad this is. The second thing that causes an EMP problem, pulse, is a nuclear strike. Now, with this thing what's going on in Russia, what bothers me, if he gets backed into a wall, he's going to do an EMP nuke. Korea, North Korea, Iran, China, Russia, they can all do this. Well, you think, okay, so they launch their missiles. Unfortunately, they're hypersonic now, and people say, well, we can shoot them down. That's not necessarily the case. And the problem would be if, like Iran or North Korea wanted to really disable this country with just a couple low-tech missiles, they could be in the Gulf somewhere, launch it from a cargo ship, and by the time they launched it from a cargo ship to the time it hit our air, we would not have time to respond. Our power's out. Now what happens, worst case scenario, and that's what I'm teaching tonight, worst case scenario is no power, no car, your car won't run. Anything that's got electronics in it will not run. No water, no sewers, no natural gas. So on a normal power outage situation, we get them here all the time. We lose power 3 or 4 days. Well, I've been through that a little longer. In 2000, I'm going to go over this in some of my stuff. 2003 for a week, but we still had our water, we still had our sewers, we still had our natural gas. So the problem's going to be, worst case scenario, you won't be able to go to the store because your car ain't going to run. So I got a website for people to look up. A lot of people don't know about EMP. A lot of the preppy people know. And it's called, let's see here, what did I do? Oh. Who's it? Oh, commonsensehome.com. You might want to write that down. It's loaded with information. There's a lot of information, misinformation about EMPs. how bad it could be, how, don't worry about it. President Trump, when he was president, he started an executive order. He wanted us to be ready for an EMP attack. So there's just a lot going on with that. So I guess that's a preview. Let's pray real quick. Dear Heavenly Father, Lord, we do thank you for your mercy and grace, Lord. Lord, we're just so thankful for this morning, the services that we had, for Brother Jimmy getting baptized, Lord. Lord, it was good to see Sister Cheryl here, Lord. Lord, we do pray for Pastor Tim Guenther, Lord, and his family with their COVID issue, and Sister Ruth with all that she's going through with her eye and things like that. Lord, we just pray that you'd be merciful to her. Lord, give me a clear mind tonight, Lord. I'm kind of on information overload right now. Lord, there's a lot to get through in a short time, Lord, so we just pray that you would help me with that. And Lord, through it all, you just get the honor and glory. Amen. Okay, so my goal tonight is, as I said, just give you some information. What you want to do with it, it's up to you. I'm just trying to be helpful. I'm not a know-it-all. I've had a lot of bad experiences. So my goal is just to help you guys out, basically. Benjamin Franklin, and I read these quotes before. I'm just going to read a couple of them just for time. Benjamin Franklin said, "By failing to prepare, you are preparing to fail." Theodore Roosevelt said, "Make preparations in advance. You'll never have trouble if you are prepared for it." 1 Timothy 5:8 says, and this is really, it should wake people up a little bit, "But if any provideth not for his own," and I mean, I'm talking for your family, food, water, whatever, protection. If any provideth not for his own, and especially for those of his own house, he hath denied the faith and is worse than an infidel. That's pretty strong words. I mean, to me, we're supposed to take care of our family. That's what it's telling to me. We're supposed to be prepared. I believe that being prepared is a biblical principle. The Bible says in Romans 15:4, "For whatever things were written formerly were written for our learning, that through patience and comfort of the Scriptures we might have hope." So, with the Old Testament Scriptures, we should be learning from them. And people say, and the prepper people get this all the time, well, if you're a Christian and you have faith in God, God's going to supply all your needs. Well, that sounds good, but my Bible says you don't work, you don't eat. So how many people sit home and don't do nothing, and you have your food on your table, God provides your food for you, God, all this kind of stuff? It doesn't happen. Okay, you got a garden. I'm a gardener. You sit in the lounge chair, wait for the tomatoes just come up, the cucumbers come up, the peppers come up, the corn comes up, potatoes come up. No, you got to work. You got to do it. So in Genesis 6:21, that kind of bothers me when I say, "Oh, your faith." Well, yeah, I have faith in the Bible. The Bible tells me what to do. In Genesis 6:21, God told Noah, "And take thou of thee all of the food that is eaten, and thou shalt gather it to thee, and it shall be food for thee and for them." Thus did Noah according to all that God commanded him, so did he. So Noah couldn't run to the store and get stuff. Okay? Now God could have supernaturally filled the ark with manna, but he didn't. He told Noah to go to get the stuff, put it in the boat, and get ready. So that's what he did. Another one, and the classic one that we all use in kind of the prepper world, is with Joseph, right? God said there's going to be a famine for 7 years, right? So he told him to stock up. So he did. It's Genesis 41:35, and God said, "And let them gather all the food of those good years that come, and lay up corn under the hand of Pharaoh, and let them keep food in the cities." You're stockpiling food. "And that food shall be for store to the land against the 7 years of famine, which shall be in the land of Egypt, that the land may not perish through the famine." If you don't have food, well, and we're going to in a little bit, you're going to die, just like water. So what would have happened if Joseph wouldn't have heeded God's voice? Right? They probably wouldn't be here. They would have starved to death. So I'm going to go back to what I taught a long time ago, the survival rule of threes. You can live 3 minutes without air, 3 hours without shelter, and that means either hot or cold. You could be freezing to death or whatever, or too hot. 3 days without water, right? Everybody kind of knows that, 3 weeks without food. And we could probably all do a few weeks without food, I'm sure, right? I mean, obviously. So this rule applies mostly to wilderness survival, but it also applies to urban survival. And then the other rule that I like for people to remember is 1 is none, and 2 is 1, and 3 is better. And what does that mean? That means if I got 1 flashlight and it burns out, I've got nothing. If I got 2, 1 burns out, I still got 1. But if that 1 burns out, then I got 2. If I got 3, I have a better chance. So, and all these things too, the rule of 3s is you always want to have 3 ways to do something. 3 ways to start a fire, 3 ways to get water, 3 ways to filter water, 3 ways for heat. If you can do it, and you can't always do it. Okay, now what I'm going to talk about tonight, and I'm just going to talk about like common sense prepping, okay? And what does that mean? Well, what that means is if you want to survive, and I know people that's already done this in our church, you don't have to go out and buy gold, you don't have to go out and buy silver, you don't have to go out and buy an AR-15, you don't have to stockpile 10,000 rounds of ammo, because right now, through this scenario that we're going to bring up, you got to make it for 3 days with no water, no gas, no heat, no sewers, no electricity. So that AR-15 isn't going to do you any good. That gold isn't, well, I can go buy it. You ain't going anywhere to buy it because your car ain't going to run. Your neighbor, if he's not prepared, you ain't going to buy him. If somebody was coming to me and says, I'll give you a gold piece, a gold coin for the water, well, I got some water, but I know he's hard up for water. I'll take that $2,000 gold piece. So really, it's not realistic. You're further ahead to buy the water, okay? So let's move on down the line. So what do you prep for, okay? And I went over this before. You got nuclear wars, hurricanes, tornadoes, earthquakes, terrorist attack, biological or pandemic, hackers, power outages. Everyone here at some time has been through a power outage. I've been through lots. I put a whole house generator in because I'm going like 3 times a year, about 3 or 4 days. If a dog wants to take a leak on the power pole, my power goes out. I mean, it's been like that for a long time. So the thing that a common sense prepper should be prepping for is the obvious. Now, yes, there's common sense prepping for radiation and nuclear fallout. There's common sense prepping for a hurricane, for tornadoes, tornado shelter, blah, 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 blah. I don't want to get into all that right now, earthquakes. But the thing that happens to all of us is a power outage. Now, Joey and Kathy can remember this, and I can remember it. I think it was back in 1977. No. It was 78, 77, 78. Steph was like 3 or 4 months old. We had way over a foot of snow. We lost power, right? So Kathy and my little sister at the time, we were like 5 or 6. And Kathy's family bugged out on me. Sharon and Steph, they left, but Steph was sick. So somebody came by in a big blazer. I don't know who it was, but they took all these people and left me alone with my mother to freeze to death over to her mother-in-law's house because they had heat. So, okay, so it's me and my mom. My mom's got a fireplace. That's why we all went over there in the first place. She had a fireplace. Well, the fireplace was for show. We used up the wood. We didn't have any firewood. Snow, no firewood. My dad's got an old chainsaw. I go out in the barn and get the chainsaw. It don't work. No axe. So what do? Well, we had horses. We had a horse barn. I took a handsaw and I'm cutting up the stalls, the wood stall, to get wood for the fireplace, right? So that was a lesson learned. If you got a fireplace, you have firewood, obviously, right? Had to learn that the hard way. So we didn't have nothing when everybody was there, we had sterno. We're using fondue. Everybody know what fondue is? Fondue thing, cooking soup and that with a sterno. Well, the sterno went, what do? Well, we had alcohol back in the day, so you put the Crown in there or the vodka, whatever you had, you light it, and we were heating up soup and stuff. But that's what you do. I mean, I'm just saying. So I learned, ever since then, I've had a generator and I've had a 4-wheel drive truck, trying to be prepared. My daughters girlfriend lives right down the road here. In February, we lost power for a little while. She lost it 3 or 4 days. So I just called her the other day to see for sure what they did. And I said, you got a generator? She says, yep, hooked it up. As soon as they hooked it up, come to find out what took out the power was a voltage spike in the system, and it took out their stove, their furnace, their microwave, and their coffee pot. The only thing that was left working was a toaster. So I said, well, at least you can make toast and Pop-Tarts, right? I mean, there's a plus side to everything, right? So the problem was they had electricity, but they didn't have any heat. So luckily, they had a gas fireplace, so they could get a little bit of heat out of that. That's more for ambiance than anything else, than for heat. But because they had power, they had to go out, and they could go because their cars ran, right? Go get some space heaters like Pastor did here. They loaded their house up with space heaters, right? So that's how you learn. If it doesn't happen to you, you're not going to learn. That's how I've learned most of the stuff. Okay, so I want to start with the worst case scenario. And if it's not, like I said there, she lost her power, but she still had her water, she still had her sewer. So we're just going to go with the worst case scenario. And if you don't lose all that, amen. I mean, that's a blessing, okay? So I talked a little bit about the EMP pulse, and just to give you some stats, let me take a quick drink here. And look it up online. Don't take my word for it. There's a lot of good websites about all this stuff. The EMP, it's electromagnetic pulse. Okay, and I said before, this is my biggest concern. In 1859, they called this pulse, so far the largest one in history, the Carrington event. It was the most intense geomagnetic storm in history. So back in the day, they didn't have power lines. They had telegraph. They took out all the telegraph stations in the United States and in Europe. They all caught on fire because you're putting thousands of volts through a line that's not made to take the voltage. Back in the day, they didn't have any insulation on the lines. Today, if our power lines, our internet, anything that's got a cable on it, it's going to be induced voltage from this EMP. So that was in 1859. March 13th, 1989, an EMP, that was solar now, this is all solar, took Quebec, Canada power grid down. Took it down. I couldn't find out for how long for sure it was down, but it was down. Totally. Just from a solar EMP. Now, not necessarily being solar, we all remember 2003 power outage. And I got caught with my pants down on that one. I told you guys before. I usually keep a half a tank of gas in my truck all the time. I was running late, doing something. I thought I'd get gas on the way home, and boom. We're in the factory, everything went down. And I'm running on fumes. I mean, again, I learned my lesson. Luckily, I made it home, right? In 1995, Western Canada, western part of the United States, and northwest Mexico, their power grid went down. In 2011, West California, 2.7 million lost power. They threw out $18 million worth of spoiled food. And we'll get into this in a little bit. Your refrigerator is only good for 4 hours without power. Okay? 4 hours. Your freezer is good for 48 hours if it's full, 24 if it's half full. So the rule there is we like to stock 2-liter pop bottles, and then you can use them in a cooler. So I'll go over it a little bit later. In 2012, the Derico blackout took 11 states out around the D.C. area, Washington, D.C., and it took 7 to 10 days to restore. I don't know if you guys remember that or not, but okay. You remember what happened in Texas, right? Texas lost their power. There's 3 main grid systems in the United States. There's the Western, the Eastern, and Texas. And that's what killed them, because they weren't interconnected, all right? Now, actually the other 2, including Texas, there's actually 8 sub-grids in those, right? So they're kind of interconnected. That's what keeps them going, but there's an east and a west. Okay, so worst case scenario, we're going to start out. Pastor Guenther calls off church Sunday night. We got 6 inches of snow, it's a blizzard, 6 inches more is coming. Okay, stay home, eat our dinner, About 7 o'clock, turn on Joel Osteen. Guess what happens? The power goes out. Shouldn't have watched Joel Osteen. So where do we start? Okay. Some people, I have this box here. Some people call it a blackout box. Some people call it a blackout bag, whatever you want to call it. It's just some place to put your stuff. Like, we all know you got to have candles, flashlights. We've all been through the ringer on that. Extra batteries, blah, 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 blah. This box here, I keep my stove, I keep my lantern, I keep my heater. So we'll go over these things as we go down the line here. So first off, safety. Safety first. I don't care how much water you got or how many heaters or burners or whatever you got, safety first. You got to have a fire extinguisher. If you can't go anywhere, something happens, a kid knocks over a candle, a cat especially, cats are horrible. They jump up on stuff, they knock a candle over. You got to have a fire extinguisher. You're not going to have water for the fire department. They ain't going to make it out to you anyways. So the first thing, and number one, is a fire extinguisher. And most people don't realize how important that is, but you got, actually, I bought some more because I was talking to Brother Riley because he was supplying the fire extinguishers for the church, and I got a bunch of small ones, but I'm thinking, some of the stuff that I do, I really should have some bigger ones. So I went to Menards and I got the bigger fire extinguishers. So thanks for that info. But fire extinguishers, number one. Smoke detector, number two. I mean, if you're burning stuff, a heater, candles, whatever, you got to have a smoke detector. And number three, you got to have a carbon monoxide detector. A lot of these things, we get into the buddy heaters, they're rated for indoor use. The propane cook stoves are not. Okay, me personally, I'm going to have it in the kitchen. I'm going to open the kitchen window. I don't care, but that's me. I mean, you should always follow the manufacturer's instructions on this stuff. Kind of a disclaimer, right? So the rule of threes we're going to start with, okay? So the first thing that happens here, we don't have any light. You're in the dark, that's what you get for watching Joel Osteen. So yeah, ask God to forgive you. You find your flashlights, you light the place up, you get all your candles and stuff. So what you should have for light sources, candles, and a lot of preppers, they'll tell you the story. They buy all these little candles, little skinny candles, survival candles they buy. You can get them online, they're cheap. But he didn't have any candle stands for them, right? So now so he has to find something they could, just common sense stuff, but sometimes you don't think of it. Matches, right? I like the strike anywhere matches. Most of you, they're hard to find now, the strike on the box matches. Bic lighters, I got bunches of them. But the thing with Bic lighters, they don't last forever. They leak sometimes. I've been, you got to be kidding me, right? They don't work. So whenever you go to the store, if you got a few extra bucks in your pocket, or if you want to buy them online, whatever you want to do, always have some and just keep buying them. Like I said, you can never have too many lighters. You got glow sticks. I have lamps, regular oil lamps. They got hurricane lanterns. The thing is, propane. Want to get that one? It's the second one over. From this end over here. Second one over. Yep, that one right there. Yep, that one. Yep. Yep, you just bring that. Yep. Yep, bring that up. Okay, this is propane, and there's a little one that just fell over by that red box over there. Oh, the red box. Yep, flip it up. Little tiny one. Yep. Yep. Alrighty. So, people say they can't afford this stuff. Well, you can't afford not to have it. I have flashlights up the wazoo. Anybody that's got a power drill, battery powered saw, they got the lights. Grab that yellow light there, turn it on, push the button. Push really hard. There you go, right? Got a power tool, you got a light. They all come with the kits. These here are nice because they throw light all over the place, right? You can set it up, it lights up a room. You got a candle, it's like one spot. Flashlight is kind of directional. The headlight there, see the headlight that's under there? Now right next to it. That green thing, yep, bring that up here. Yeah. We use these a lot. Pastor and I use these a lot when you can't see. Keeps your hands free, right? And I was talking to Miss Rachel earlier about this. I'm not a battery expert. I'm just telling you from experience. I use Duracell batteries and everything. I've tried them all. Energizers, they're supposed to last forever. They don't. The Duracells last longer. Railvacs, I've tried them. I've tried the dollar store ones when I'm up north. You know, when you run out of battery, you're out. You got to get some more, you know, when you're hunting. So these are great. Try to keep, which I don't even follow my own suggestions, try to keep everything the same battery, right? I tried that. I tried everything's going to be double A. Well, everything's triple A now, right? I mean, so you got to have both. I mean, whatever you've got. So, like I said, the omnidirectional ones are great because, like I said, like a regular flashlight, they're good to have. But if for to light up a room or a bedroom or a bathroom or something, and if you got kids and pets, these are better than candles. I mean, we use a lot of candles. The first, when we have a power outage, Sherry gets the candles out, gets them going until I get back in and get the generator going. You know, now I have a self-start generator, but automatic. But like I said, that was a little ritual. She'd get light, get going, light in the bathroom, light in the kitchen. You know, I try to get the generator. They don't always start. I've been down that road before. They don't always start. So you got to be ready. So this propane one, also, I like propane. We'll go over why later, but I am a big fan of propane. Butanes now seems to be the thing too. We'll go over that a little bit. You want to grab these? Okay, so we got our light source. We got our candles, our flashlights, all the other stuff. The next thing is an emergency radio. This is really, before we get to the next one, see the tin, the colored tin right there? The real colorful tin. The round thing. Nope, not that. That's the toilet. You're close. All right. Nope, the one right there, the round tin. Right there, it's going to bite you. Yep, you're looking at it. The round thing, right? There. There you go. All right. Okay, the only thing that protects against an EMP is a Faraday cage. Anybody know what a Faraday cage is? Faraday cage? All right, I'm not going to go into that tonight. It's a long, drawn-out thing. But anyways, an EMP pulse is going to kill your phone, going to kill any electronic, your cell phone, your computer, blah, 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 blah. So what you want to have in a tin like this, something isolated from the tin, if you have an emergency radio, which they recommend on both sheets, the FEMA and the Red Cross, this emergency radio here. Now, you can use any kind of radio, right? A little transistor radio, I pick them up all the time at the state sales, mostly at state sales. You can get them for $1 or $2, but now everybody kind of knows what's going on. They're like $10 now, where you could used to buy them for $1 or $2. And always check to make sure that the batteries weren't left in them and destroyed the back, they leaked. That's what I was telling you this, or telling Rachel. The headlamp that we just had here, we were using it here working, I had energizers in it and they leaked. And I just put them in not too long ago. It's not like they were in there for years or something. So the energizers I've had the most trouble. I'm just telling you from experience, you can buy what you want. This here is an emergency radio. They recommend you have one of these. This is solar charged. Takes forever to charge. You put it in the sun, what the heck? I mean, you know, it's just kind of a gimmick thing, but put it in the sun. It's going to charge the battery in here. Now this one, I was a little leery about buying this one because this takes a different kind of battery. It's not a AA, it's not a AAA, it's some oddball one. But luckily, a friend of mine is a flashlight nut, and he gave me a couple flashlights that takes this weird battery. It's bigger than a AA, but I have those. So I bought this against my own suggestions to keep everything the same. Now you can buy them that have battery packs, but you can put AAAs in them or AAs. I would go that way, but if you can't afford this, this is $40. But if you can't afford this, a transistor radio will work. But the reason why they recommend a crank radio is, one, I have the battery disconnected in here right now, but I can crank this, charge that battery. It's got a flashlight in it. It's got an AM/FM radio, which is any transistor radio. Plus, it's got the weather band on here. So, in case of a tornado, blah 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 blah. So, worst case scenario, this wasn't in there, it'd be dead. Not worst case scenario. tornado hits somewhere, you lost your power, you're trying to figure out what should go on, earthquake somewhere, a water main break somewhere, this is going to work, all right? So you can charge it by cranking it. You can charge your cell phone. If it works, it would not worst case scenario. If it works, it comes with a cord, USB cord to micro. You can crank this, charge your phone. Now, Kathy bought the power pack. Some of you might have a power pack that you can charge your phone off of. That's fine. But in case, not worst case scenario, but this is a flashlight, radio, and battery charger, all in one. But the key is leave it in the box, the cardboard box, unless you want to make a cardboard box like I did here with a different radio. It's a Grundig radio. And why I took it out of the box, I don't know. But it gets shortwave too. So shortwave goes farther. If something happens farther, let's say the whole East Coast, the middle of the United States is gone, but the West Coast has still got power, I could pick them up. The shortwave radio operators would be working on that. So this is what they recommend. This is like the second thing they recommend to have. So I recommend it too. Buy it, try it. Pastor said prove, right? I've had, what did I get? I got something and it didn't work, or I didn't know how to use it right away. And you don't want to be fumbling around trying to light a camp stove if you've never done it before. You don't want to be trying to use a fire starter, which I talked about before. Not that you want to start a fire in your house, but you don't want to be figuring out how to start a fire with a fire starter if you've never done it before. So on a camp stove, how to cook on a camp stove. So that's the second thing. Okay, so the rule of threes is, right, you got air, right? We got our lights so we can see what the heck we're doing. We got our radio in case we can use it to hear something. Best case, you can listen to the radio, right? Rule of threes, 3 hours without shelter, right? We're cold. Pastor called off church. We're at home. It's 20 degrees, wind chill's 10. What do you got to do? Every household should have some kind of heater. Now, if you got a fireplace, great. I've got a fireplace. I put that in before Y2K, right? So, and maintain your fireplace. I've had 3 chimney fires, right? And that'll burn your house down. And this is how the Lord works. I've been, I was sick one day. I usually don't leave work when I'm sick. I came home early, about a half hour early, and my chimney is like a jet engine. It's just red hot, and it's working its way down to the roof. So I run in the house, and Sheriff, she couldn't hear it because she was in the back playing on the computer. And so I have what they call a bomb. You throw it in the fireplace, and it takes all the oxygen out of the fireplace, so it puts the fire out. If you don't have a bomb, you could, and I asked what you can do if you didn't have that. You can put crushed ice in a bag, leave it in the freezer, and then when you got this chimney fire, open the door, throw the bag of crushed ice in there, close the door. It'll melt, and the water vapor will put that out. It takes a while, though, so maintain your equipment, maintain your generator. So the 3 hours, so every room should have some kind of heater. The buddy heaters, which we used out here for the nativity, they're rated for indoor use. I'm not sure about the butane ones yet. I didn't look that one up, but they're rated for indoor use. So if they're not rated for indoor use and you use it, that's fine. Crack a window. You want your carbon monoxide detector there. You want a portable one, battery operated. Okay. I've had some bad experiences with propane, but I still think propane is the safest out of all the heaters. Okay. So what do? Okay, you got a little heater like that. You can't heat your whole house with that heater. You have to pick one room and designate one room for a microclimate. So what you need to do is block that off. Get a big blanket or something, put up over one of the doorways, and just leave it where you can go in and out if you got to go to the bathroom, whatever. We'll go over that in a little bit. But you want a microclimate where that little heater, if you all stay, even if you pop the tent up. I have a pop-up tent. I can put it in the living room. That's where I would be our micro room because I got a fireplace in there. But you could put a buddy heater in front of that, shine it into your tent, and that would keep you from freezing. Now, you want to grab that very end one there for me? This one? I was telling Pastor the story. No, on the chair. That one, yep. Just bring that up. Thank you. Now, this goes on propane, all right? This one here saved my life, believe it or not. Bill and I was up hunting, and our propane froze up on the trailer, okay? So we're like, okay, worst case, we'll go jump in the truck, right? On the truck. Truck wouldn't start. It was so cold, it wouldn't start. We're 5 miles from town one way, 10 miles the other way. So I had to go to my deer blind because this was in my deer blind. Luckily, my quad started up. We have a little shelter, a tarp shelter for my quad. I run down, about froze to death getting this thing. We put it in the floor between us, and we slept in the same sleeping bag. Don't anybody go there. That's a real buddy heater, I'm going to tell you. Then we had to take turns on who got this side, but we made it through the night until I went and bought a new regulator that was a dual feed from both sides. So you got to have some way to an alternative heat source. I don't care if it's a. I like the radiant heaters. I think they're safer. I have blue flame heaters too. Unless they're tuned up right. You know, if you get any orange off your blue flame heaters, it makes the carbon monoxide. That's where your detector comes in handy. But you can always crack a window. For the years and years I've been hunting, over 30 years, we had a radiant propane heater, but the problem with that one is it didn't have any safeties. It didn't have a pilot. So back in the day when I could hear, I heard a hissing noise. I woke up, we're getting cold, and the trailer filled up with propane. There was no pilot light on that to shut it off. So right after that, we bought a safe heater, which has, like the buddy heaters, they have an oxygen depletion sensor on them, and if you knock them over, they shut off. I think, Mr. Arlo, you said you had one too, a buddy heater? And the nice thing about a buddy heater too is you can run them off a 20-pound. You can run them off a 100-pound, but you need a different regulator. But you can run them off the 20-pounder with just a hose. Just stick I would just drill a hole through the wall, which I did in my deer blind. But if you wanted to open a window, close the window, stick a towel up there or something to prevent the draft. So, but you got to have an alternate heat source, okay? You got to have it. You can say, I can't afford it. You got to have it. You're going to freeze to death. Okay. Again. Oh, yeah. Let me finish up here. So the propane, I feel it's safe. It's easier to store. It's not like gasoline. Anybody ever have a kerosene heater? Right? You know they're not safe for indoors. They're not rated for indoors. We all done it. I've got one. I mean, I'm just saying they're not safe for indoors. You got a carbon monoxide detector? Okay. Crack a window? Okay. The shelf life on kerosene is only 5 years. Okay? So just something to remember. The propane lasts forever. I mean, it just doesn't go bad. So that's why I like the propane. Kathy got the butane stove. I'm not up on butane yet. That's not my bag. But her and I are working on that. So, okay. The next thing is rule of threes. You can only go 3 days without water. And I'm sorry for running long. You don't go 3 days without water, right? This, why don't you grab this? This and this, and I'm not going to go into the bug out bags tonight because it's another whole thing. This is Cher and ours bug out bags, right? Everything I'm going over tonight, even the mini heaters that we have in here, are in these bags. I have a 3-day supply of food down in the bottom, protein drinks, protein bars, blah, 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 and this goes with us, okay? And I went over this before. These 2 cases are for 2 people. You need a gallon of water per day per person. And most people don't realize, I don't need, yeah, you do. Trust me, you're going to need. In our trailer, we don't have water. We have to take our water to get our toilet. We have a macerator toilet up there for cooking, for washing, for drinking. So one of these, a case of 24, is good for 3 days for one person. So if you have, how many people's in your family? So you need a minimum of 6 cases, right? And do you have that? I'm not putting you on the spot. Do you have that all the time? Good, that's fine, that's great. And most people don't. I mean, we stockpile water. And while we're talking about water, can you bring me those 2 water jugs, please? Okay, these are both gallons. I use some out of this one here to prime my pump. Okay, these, you can buy them for 99 cents. These you can buy for 99 cents. These will leak in about a year. I ruined a whole set of cupboards in my utility room. They do not last, right? These, so far, I know they last 5 or 6 years. So these are the way to go, okay? So just like these are clear plastic, the Aquafinas make the best bottles. I'm sure you all know that. Anybody that's ever bought water, Costco, wherever you buy your water, Sam's, the bottles are so squeaky, they don't even hardly stand up anymore. So the Aquafina is the best. If you go to stockpile water, I would buy this, buy it and forget it. I date all mine. This one is dated 22. I've used water from 17. This past year, I'm on 2018 right now. So this is purified water. That's the next thing I want to talk about. Purified water, and that will last at least 5, 6 years. Spring water, after about a year or two, it gets a funky taste to it. Still might be safe to drink, but if I was to drink spring water after 2 years, I would be using one of my water filters, water purifiers to drink it. I mean, if you don't have any water and this is all you got, I would still be drinking it through this. So short term, you need purified water. 1 case per person per day. Now the bad thing is, and I know it's hard to do, that's 3 days. The Red Cross wants you to have 2 weeks. And anytime you see a catastrophe somewhere, long term, what are they trying to get? Water, 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 water. You can only go 3 days without water. You gotta have water. You can buy these here for 99 cents, a gallon per person. And the problem is, where do you put them? I mean, I understand that better than anybody. I mean, I'm a junk collector. I got so much stuff. But you got to put them somewhere. I mean, they're going to freeze if they're in the garage, I mean, in the winter. So me, I'd rather buy them and forget them. Just buy them. They're going to last 5 years. If you recycle it out, fine. If you don't, you can water your plants with it later on down the road, okay? Okay, long term, you're going to need some way to purify water. Obviously, if it goes into a month, you're not going to have a month's supply of cases of water, obviously. So I use rain barrels. I use 55-gallon drums to store stuff. If you got a pond, if you're by a stream, but you got to start looking at some alternate way to get some water. And then you're going to need a purifier. Pastor Ammon, he bought the big Berkey. I have a knockoff big Berkey where you pour the water in and it filters it for you into a bottom container. These life straws, I recommend them. I think most of my family's got the life straws. I've got one in every bag. I've got one in my get home bag. I just picked up 2 for my brother-in-law. They're $18 at Meijer's right now. It's like a must-have. I mean, you can drink out of your toilet if you want with this. I told you guys that before. I mean, not that I would recommend doing it, but if you need water, I mean, they're worth having. Okay, so that's long term. You're going to need some sort of big water purifier, and like this is a small one. Okay. Okay, the next thing would be food. Okay, 3 days of non-perishable food. Okay, so almost every house has got 3 days of food. I mean, really. I mean, we got peanut butter, crackers. I can live on Ritz crackers and peanut butter for a day. I can switch over to something else. We were talking about Spam. I mean, but Spam would be more long-term. You know, people want to go stock up on freeze-dried food, and I just threw away probably $1,000 worth of freeze-dried food last year because mine got outdated. I mean, I'm one, I'll buy it and forget it. I mean, I've used it before, and I should have recycled it out, but I didn't. Well, it's expired, so I have to move on. Now, I have other stuff that's going to expire in another 5 years, okay? So freeze-dried is for long-term. But MREs are super expensive. They don't really taste that good. Some are good, some are not. I gave some to Mrs. Hammond one time. She wanted to do a ladies' meeting with. I don't know if she did or not. Maybe she just wanted the MREs. I don't know. But anyways, non-perishable foods, canned foods, spaghetti, soup, tuna fish, snacks, whatever you got around. If you got crackers, if you got potato chips, I mean, eating potato chips for 3 days probably won't kill you. I mean, I'm just saying. But you got to have non-perishable foods. Now, the thing is to think about, your refrigerator and freezer is not working now. So you're already, unless you have those pop bottles frozen in the freezer and put them in a cooler and took the stuff out of your refrigerator, and put them in the cooler where they'll last longer than being in the refrigerator, you better start cooking them. So you're going to have some way to cook them New York strip steaks, right? I mean, you can invite me. Well, I can't get over there. That's all. But you got to some way, and that's where the stoves come in. So I have, what did I do with that one? Oh, on top of that blue thing over here, Wyatt, please. Yep, that. This goes on in a little propane bottle. I like the little ones, the 1 pounders. This goes on like a camp stove. You put your pot on there, your little frying pan where you want, and away you go. Now, the bigger one, I'm not going to have why I get it. Everybody knows what a camp stove is, the 2-burner job you do, right? I don't like the Coleman. I had them in the past, the Coleman fuse. I like the propane. So you could cook a meal on that. Put that on your stove, crack the kitchen window so you don't have to worry about carbon monoxide, and start cooking up your stuff that's going to spoil on you. So that's on that. Okay, next. Okay, so I mean, you can use sternal like we did. You can, if you got alcohol, even rubbing alcohol, you can put that in a thing and light it and cook off it. And what changes, the only difference between short-term, the 3-day, and the 2-week, and the month is the amount of stuff that you have to stockpile, right? So I've had the MREs, wind up throwing them out. And my recommendation before was, whatever you eat, if you like SpaghettiOs, stock up on SpaghettiOs. If you like Campbell's soup, stock on Campbell's soup. You don't want to go buy 50-pound bags of beans and 50-pound bags. Not that you shouldn't have that long-term, but stock up on what you're going to eat. Because when you get them beans and you get that rice, what do you need to cook them? Water. So it's just, I mean, what I did, because we're bad, I admit it, I'm the worst. You know, rotating share can't do that like she used to be able to do. So I get the stuff, I got to make sure to rotate it. So I kind of went idiot-proof. I bought one of them racks. We're first in, first out. You know what that is? You know, like they got it, the soup things at Myers or something. You know, you pull this one out and then it goes down. So I put all the new ones in the back so I don't screw up. Because we've opened some up and look, and it's dated like, 2015, 2010. It's like, and we'll open it to see, and it's bad. There's no doubt, you can tell it's bad. So I'm just saying, so that's the thing there. So with the cooking equipment, see that little orange thing that you just had there? The little orange handled thing? Yep. With the cooking thing, you want lots of matches, lighters, but I wouldn't advise using a lighter to light a propane stove because you're going to be up there, and I've had them blow up in my hand before. So these are the way to go. Candles, down in there, stove. It's the safest way to light them. I mean, you can use a match. I've done it. I've burned myself. I mean, I'm just telling you what's happened to me in the past. So, okay. First aid kit. They say you don't need an elaborate first aid kit. I disagree. If you can't go anywhere, you got to be able to take care of cuts, scrapes. When I was deer hunting one time, I gashed my hand really, really bad. So after that, I should know better. I have the sutures. I didn't take the sutures with me. I mean, I could have sewed myself up. I could be Rambo, right? How they did it, right? But I mean, I had to go. But after that, I started putting sutures in my hunting equipment and super glue, right? The most advanced first aid kit. And you can put your own together. You don't have to buy them, but get the most advanced first aid kit that you can handle. I have in these bags tourniquets. If you don't know how to use a tourniquet, don't use it. I have in this bag chest seals in case you get a bullet wound. If things get bad, it goes past a month, you're going to need some type of protection, and that's for another series. But you're going to need some type of protection. If you got shot, you're going to have to do something. And the chest seals, you got to know how to use them. I mean, you can make up your own. I have regular military medic chest seals. I have a lot of specialized. I have staplers to staple stuff. I went through that before. But whatever you can handle, get. Teeth, if your cap comes off. They make dent cap. I've got a couple of those. They're in there. You get them at Myers. It's not a big deal. I just had a cap put on. It cost me $1,300, and that's for another sermon, a real sermon. But they give you dent cap in case it comes off. You can squish it, mix it on, put it in there, bite, and scrape the other stuff off. So whatever you can handle, you get it. I mean, the younger people, I told you before, I saved Cher's life. She was choking with the Heimlich maneuver. One of the big guys that I worked with back at Star Tool and Die, he was choking on a piece of steak. I saved his life with the Heimlich maneuver. If you don't know how to do it, learn how to do it. You should learn how to do it. I think Jessica knows a lot of that stuff, right? I'm going to take a refresher course just for myself. I'm kind of waiting for this COVID stuff to wind down, just so I'm better apt to handle it. A lot of the stuff, how many compressions, I forgot all that. Could I do this? Could I give mouth to mouth? Yeah. Could I do it in the right sequence? Probably not now, right? So, okay. So, that's that. Now, I apologize for running late, I really do. Now, the most important thing, everybody's favorite topic is sanitation, right? Okay, Wyatt, can you bring up those 2 buckets? Okay, we don't have a toilet now. The toilet will not flush. Now, I use pee and poo. Get over it, right? It's the way it is. I don't like the pee on the end of poo, but it is what it is. You're going to eat, you're going to drink, you're going to pee or poo, right? Okay, so, and recently, you guys heard we remodeled our bathroom, small house, 1 bathroom. You're going to wind up, when you got to rip the floor out, redo the plumbing, Pastor, you know, right? So, you got a bucket, right? The lid on this bucket here, Luggabaloo makes them, a bunch of different companies make them. They fit on a 5-gallon bucket. This one's a little over 5 because I'm old and it's taller. I think I told you guys I got a newer toilet now. The taller one makes all the difference in the world on my back and Sheriff's knees, and that's what we need. I like the taller one, but whatever bucket you want to buy is fine. I have another smaller bucket in the bottom of this one just for a backup, just in case the bag tears, rips, whatever it does. Things happen. So in this one here, and I always keep it all together, I've got rolls of toilet paper down there, 4, bunch of trash bags, these white ones, a hand sanitizer, wet ones for that oh no moment when your finger goes through the toilet paper. And I got this here is called Kim, and our macerator toilet. It's just a toilet, open toilet, but you sprinkle a little bit, and I got it at Walmart's. You just sprinkle, it comes in a little packet. You just sprinkle a little bit in your toilet, and it knocks down the smell. And then I've used that for years and years. Deer camp, you figure a bunch of guys eating beans and eating chili all week. I mean, it gets pretty bad. So you got this, and if you can't afford the $12, $14, I understand that. You can get just pipe insulation, or you know those noodle things that kids use in swimming pools? You can slice that, cut that around there. Okay, Wyatt, I'm going to need your hand on this one here. Grab that little green light that you had. There you go. No, the little green light that you had, the headlamp. Okay, so this is just going to be a quick test. We're almost done, folks. Quick test. Okay, put the headlamp on. Put the headlight on. Okay, we're going to turn it on. Maybe the white light. All right. Now, sit on this one. Sit on that one. And how does that feel? Okay or not bad?
Not bad.
Okay, now sit on this one. Better or this one? Okay, sit on that one then. Okay, now this will give you something to do then while you're there. You read a magazine. And okay, thank you. You not turn the light on? Okay, you go back to your seat, thanks. Okay, so that's the kind of pretty much the gist of it here. So lots of trash bags, Again, you're going to need water. If you don't have the wipes on you, and you have that oh my moment, you're going to want to wash your hands. Now another thing to have too is I got it on here. I'm not smart really. I have smart water, don't drink it all the time, but it's got a squirty thing on it, and you should keep these even when they're done, keep a couple around. If you got to wash your hand, at least you can squirty. You only got to really usually worry about one hand, right? So I mean, you can squirty your hand and clean your hands. So, okay, moving on. Okay, hey, we're almost done. So, okay, that's kind of the gist of the whole thing there. I hope that helps a little bit. The good news is, right, most outages only last for 1 to 3 days, right? I mean, that's my biggest concern is the EMP. Generators, I encourage, if you can afford a generator, don't buy a cheapie. Buy it one time. I don't like buying used generators. Buy a good generator, it'll last you your lifetime. As long as you maintain it. Make sure you got spark plugs, change the oil, blah, blah, blah. Now, my brother-in-law, he's kind of turned into a prepper. He bought a Champion, which is not a bad name brand, a Champion generator that's dual fuel. Runs on gasoline and propane. So it runs off 20-pound tanks, which I love. It'll run off a 100-pound tank with a different regulator. So that's my first recommendation as far as major. I mean, if you don't have the fire extinguisher, the smoke detector, the heaters, the stove, you got to get that first. You got to get that first. Next would be the bigger thing, the generator. And the generators, just from experience, I know a friend of mine that I worked with, his daughter worked at Stable. I put Stable. Some people use Seafoam, that's fine. I've had better luck with Stable. I use Stable 360 and everything. It's kind of a brownish color. It's good for the can. The red stuff's actually just for your can, not for the equipment. The Stable 360 is actually good for your equipment if you leave your gas in the equipment. I used to drain it all the time. I don't do that anymore since I've been putting the Stable 360 in because it does counteract the ethyl alcohol that they put in them now for the corn that they put in the gas. For heating and cooling, like I said, I like the propane. They do make the butane fuel if you like them. Grab the batteries there, will you? Okay, lots and lots of batteries. Have lots of batteries. I like the Duracells. I have, unfortunately, can you grab that blue box there too? The big blue box? Yeah, right there. Yep. Okay, I got Ds, and I didn't want to buy Ds. I got double A's, and I didn't want to have to buy the triple A's, but I got all the stuff that runs it, so you got to have batteries. These usually have a 10-year shelf life. If you rotate them out, fine. If you leave them and forget them, which I usually do, they go bad after 10 years. I had to throw away a whole pack. It really bothered me. This here, getting back to the heating and cooling, I forgot it. This is a fan. If you got a buddy heater in your blocked off room, your microclimate room, this runs on D batteries. It runs for about 48 hours on 6 D batteries. That's why I got the D batteries. In the summertime, the same thing. If you want to be cool, this is $20 at Walmart's. If you want to be cool, it's nice to have a fan blowing on if you don't have air. So I'm just a recommendation there. Okay, batteries, lots of batteries. Anybody on CPAC machines? You know, what do you do for backup for that? Okay, your generator ain't working now. That don't work either. Nobody's generator is working. That's the problem. Deer hunting, my hunting buddy, he needs a CPAC to breathe at night, right, to sleep, right? So what he did, he's got a car battery. He brought up his car battery. You can use any car battery. A marine deep cycle battery is the best. You can use a car battery. He took his battery out of his CUDA, that's that yellow top expensive battery. I'm not sure which one it is. But they make an adapter that goes to a 12-volt battery so you can plug your CPAC machine in. And it lasts him almost a week. So just if you got a CPAC or if you're on oxygen, if you can't charge your little battery packs, you might want to think about having a tank on hand. I mean, I'm just making the suggestion there. Just a couple of quick points here. I'm almost done. If you don't have any heat, but you still got water, which happened in our situation when I was freezing with my mom, I had to walk back and forth between the houses, leave the water running, leave them both on, you're hot and cold both. Make sure they're running into all your faucets in your house so that your traps will freeze if they got water in them, they'll break. Your toilet, flush your toilet every now and then if it gets really cold. One of my water lines, even though I had the water running, froze. So I don't know if I didn't have it open up enough. Luckily I caught it, I could see it. It was on an inside wall too. The pipe was bulging. I took a torch and heated it up and saved it. So, okay. So just a couple tips there. One, start 3 days. If you don't have this, then you're not going to go anywhere. I'm telling you, you got to have the water. That's number one. You're going to freeze to death, which I almost did one time. You got to have some way for heat. You got to have something. Like I said, unfortunately, our propane heater didn't work because the regulator was outside. Snow was melting, and when I changed tanks, I don't know if I got snow in it. but the regulator froze up on me. But I still like propane. Now, if you get past the 3-day, the 2-week, the 1 month, the year, then you can worry about the zombie apocalypse. But if you don't get past this 3 days, I'm telling you, I'm serious. I mean this with all my heart. You need to be prepared. I mean, I'm not looking, we know what's happening right now in the world. And, this thing in Ukraine, I pray for them all the time, but this just could be the ushering in for the Antichrist. You know what I'm saying? So it's really important to make sure, one, that we're saved. This is that, right? Kathy and I talked about it. She wants to go out in the first wave, okay, if something happens. Fine. I mean, we're in a better place. I mean, that's fine. But you got to be safe. The next thing is, if you don't go out in the first wave and you got to take care of your family, you got to start working on some of these issues. This is just some of the suggestions that I have. Go online. I'm just telling you what works for me, what I've done from past experience, from real past experience about freezing to death. Me and my mom, like I said, how bad is that? You got a fireplace and you don't have firewood. I mean, just crazy. I'm just saying, I've stocked up, they probably got like 6-7 cords of firewood for my fireplace. So, second, I'm ending with this verse here, 2 Timothy 3:1. This know also that in the last days perilous times shall come. So, I mean, I think we're in the end days, and we really need to start thinking about prepping for the 3 days, and for our family members that aren't saved, to get in the gospel to them. I've been trying to witness to my 2 neighbors next door. One's kind of a prepper, the one's kind of not, and I'm trying to get them. I asked them to come tonight, just to kind of, the gospel's the main thing. I mean, we know we're going to a better place, but if we're not gone, we still have to take care of our family. So I just hope some of this information helps a little bit. Back to you. Thank you. Amen.
Not in Ukraine. We're not getting shelled. We're not, we're able to meet. Amen. We still have electricity. We still live in a free country. Things could change. Things could change in a real hurry. Amen. This is good information that we learned tonight. Amen. But let's close with the song. When I look around and see the good things He's done for me, I know I'm not worthy of it all. For His blessings He freely gives out. My life today, I've got so much to thank Him for. And I've got so much to thank Him for, so much. In praise and glory. He's been so good to me. When I think of what He's done and where He's brought me from, I've got so much to thank Him for. Where sometimes along this way I stop, I'll hear Him say thank you for all You've done for me. And someday heaven's glory, but there was more. I've got so much to thank Him for. And I've got so much to thank Him for, so much. In praise and glory. He's been so good to me. And when I think of what He's done and where He's brought me from, I've got so much to thank Him for. We can all be thankful that we got the new chairs when the service goes long. We're all comfortable. Amen. Amen. Brother Ronnie, would you close the word of prayer, brother?